Hello, this is Dave at TitleSearch.com. In this video, we're going to talk about mineral rights searches, how far to go back, and what are the year ranges on those searches and what it means. We also have a website you might be interested in called MineralRightsSearch.com, but let's dive right into the subject. First of all, when mineral rights are searched, in many cases, the records which identify the mineral rights ownership for a property have been filed many, many years prior. It's usually not 2 or 3 years ago that mineral rights were sold. It may be 40 or 50 or sometimes 100 years prior. We've even done mineral rights searches that have found that the last transfer was over 100 years ago in the 1800s. So finding out the year range is going to be important to figure out how far back to go on mineral rights. As you know, mineral rights ownership for a particular property runs separate from the surface right. So if the address is 12 Main Street, the owner of 12 Main Street might own the house and the land. The mineral rights may run separate from that, and if they were sold to a second party, they're not going to show up on the deeds or mortgages or records for that surface ownership. They're going to be a chain of title that's split off and runs parallel to that. But if you just search the title search for the surface property, you will never find the mineral rights ownership and who owned them and what that chain of title is. You have to go back to the original split when that happened and then follow that chain of title separately. It's kind of like a V process. So if this is the ownership of the property, at some point it was split off. Here's the surface rights, here's the mineral rights, and you follow them separately. So when mineral rights are searched, usually records that are 0 to 10 years old, when you go into the land records office, are viewable on some type of terminal or computer screen. So you go into the land records, you want to search title records, you go into a terminal or some type of screen, and you can search back that far on the screen. In most counties, once you get back beyond 10 or 15 years, usually into like the mid to late 90s, you may go into a separate legacy computer, maybe a DOS-based system or some other terminal-based system where you put in an X in a box, hit enter, and it pulls up certain information. That goes back 10 to 20 years, usually back into maybe the early 80s, late 70s when those legacy systems were put in place. Once you get back beyond 20 years, in most counties, computers didn't exist 20, 25 years ago in the land records, so their records may exist on microfilm. So now, if you're searching back farther, now you have to transition your search from that legacy computer onto microfilm. And microfilm goes back into the 1950s. Is when that technology was out. So you may have to then look back in that chain of title on the microfilm reels and spin those reels and print out copies if you need them. Beyond the 1950s, you're going to find that most real estate records are actually in historical deed books. There's actually going to be books on the shelf. You pull out the book, you flip to the page where that record is, and you view the document. In order to find out which book to look in, you probably have to start with the name index to find the name you're looking for and what books those records are in. Once you get back beyond about 80 years, most counties will have records in deed books, but they may not have them directly available to the public. You might have to request a document or request a book from the archives and then wait for them to go retrieve it. It might take them an hour, it might take them a few minutes. Sometimes it's the next day when you come back and get that document. Because of the fact they're so old, a lot of times those deed books are more protected. They don't want them damaged or ripped or fingerprints getting on them with oils that can deteriorate the paper. So with mineral rights, it's very important to understand those 4 different types of records. 0 to 10 years is going to be a modern computer screen or a Windows-based system. 10 to 20 years might be a legacy computer. 20 to 40 years or 50 years might be microfilm. And then deed books beyond that. And then a subset of those deed books will be archived records so that the books may not be available directly. A mineral rights search, the farther back you go, takes longer. So the first 40 years of searching may not be as complicated as the next 50 years. So a 100-year search typically is double the amount of time as a 50-year search, but it might take more than that to actually complete it. So when you're looking at your mineral rights records, make sure you get a good idea of when the mineral rights transfer may have occurred. If in most areas in that county or city they were done 40 years ago, a 50-year search should cover it. If most of the mineral rights in that area were 70 or 80 years ago, you want to go back about that far. And if you're not sure, check in with us. We can look in that county to see when most records are transfers or what the typical amount of time that's most frequently requested from us. Again, you can reach us at our website, TitleSearch.com. Specifically, mineral rights searching has some information at the website MineralRightsSearch.com. You can reach us at any time. We'd be glad to answer any questions you have about subsurface rights, oil and gas, minerals, or any other types of land records.